In the quiet bamboo grove, the Buddha gathered his disciples under the brilliance of the morning sun. He looked at them and began speaking, his voice steady and calm, resonating with a profound wisdom. "Why do you seek validation in the eyes of others?" he asked. Pausing to let the question settle, the disciples remained silent, exchanging glances filled with hesitation and unspoken uncertainty about the answer. The Buddha smiled, his gaze serene and understanding, as if inviting honesty without judgment from each of them. "Ananda," the Buddha called softly, turning toward his closest disciple, who looked up with curiosity and humility. "Tell me," the Buddha continued, "what do you feel when you are praised by others for your deeds or words?" Ananda hesitated, then replied, "Master, I feel joy, a sense of fulfillment, as though I am made whole by their acknowledgement." The Buddha nodded. "Does that joy linger, Ananda, or does it dissolve as quickly as mist under the morning sun?" Ananda bowed his head and said, "It fades, Master. The joy is fleeting, replaced by a yearning for more approval." The Buddha's voice grew softer yet more profound. "This yearning, my disciples, is the root of suffering caused by seeking external validation." He gestured toward a nearby pond, its surface still and undisturbed, mirroring the sky above it perfectly. "Observe the pond," the Buddha instructed, his hand extending as if to draw their focus toward the tranquil waters. "When the water is calm, it reflects clearly, yet, when disturbed, it shows nothing but fragmented images." The disciples observed, their attention captivated by the profound simplicity of the analogy presented before them. "Seeking approval from others," the Buddha continued, "is like trying to see your reflection in rippled, chaotic waters." He turned back to his disciples, his gaze moving slowly across each of their faces. Now thoughtful and introspective. "Come closer," the Buddha said, motioning for them to sit around him as the breeze carried the fragrance of blossoms. "I will share a story," the Buddha began, "one that may illuminate the illusion of external validation more clearly." The disciples leaned in, their silence heavy with anticipation and an eagerness to absorb the teachings of their master. "In the village of Sravasti," the Buddha said, "there lived a merchant named Sadira, celebrated for his immense wealth and influence. Sadira adorned himself daily with fine garments, jewels, and perfumes, striving to attract admiration wherever he went. He basked in the compliments and adoration of others, feeling uplifted by their flattery and envious gazes. But one day," the Buddha continued, "a wandering sage approached him amidst the bustling marketplace and spoke candidly. 'Master,' he asked, 'what if our minds wander as we walk? How do we stay present?' The Buddha smiled gently, his expression free of judgment. 'When the mind wanders, acknowledge it,' he said. 'Then, return your focus to the rhythm of your steps.'" The disciples nodded, their faces reflecting a mixture of understanding and contemplation. They resumed walking, their footsteps blending into a unified rhythm. "Life is like this path," the Buddha said. The sage left, saying, "Seek the reflection within yourself, for there lies the truth of your own being." The Buddha paused here, his voice lowering as he said, "Sadira's story reveals the hollow nature of external validation. Do you see now," the Buddha continued, "how seeking approval from others weakens the harmony of your inner self?" One of the older monks nodded, saying, "Master, I see that Sadira sought value outside himself, only to remain unsatisfied." The Buddha turned to him, acknowledging the observation with a serene smile that carried subtle encouragement. "But how?" Ananda asked, his voice filled with genuine curiosity. "Can one cease seeking validation from others entirely?" The Buddha gestured again toward the pond, now shimmering as the sunlight reflected on its tranquil surface. "Still the waters of your mind," the Buddha replied, "and your reflection will become clear. unaffected by the world's ripples. To find peace, the Buddha continued, focus not on the gaze of others but on the truth within yourself. He gestured toward the horizon, where the rising sun bathed the landscape in a golden hue of illumination. Like the sun, the Buddha said, your inner light must shine naturally. Without seeking the approval of the lotus blossoms, the disciples pondered his words, the weight of his wisdom settling deeply within their hearts and minds. Live as the lotus is, the Buddha said finally, blooming not for the eyes of others but for the joy of being. The grove grew quiet as the Buddha's teaching resonated, echoing within their thoughts, like ripples spreading in calm water. The disciples began to meditate on his words, seeking to calm their minds and discover the light within themselves. In their silence, the wind whispered through the bamboo, a gentle reminder of the truths revealed by their master. The Buddha watched them, his serene gaze reflecting the boundless compassion and wisdom that defined his being. His teachings, as steady as the earth and as deep as the skies, carried the potential to transform their hearts. Under the canopy of bamboo and the vastness of the heavens, the disciples embarked on their journey of inner discovery. Another day, under the shade of ancient banyan trees, the Buddha gathered his disciples to share another teaching. Liberation is not a destination, it is the journey itself. The disciples stood in silence, the weight of the Buddha's words settling over them like a gentle rain. The disciples sat in silence, their expressions contemplative, seeking the meaning behind his question with earnest hearts. The Buddha continued, Ananda, share your thoughts. Walking through the meadow, the Buddha said, is like moving through the ever-changing circumstances of life. Each step is an act of courage. I will tell you a story, the Buddha said, of a king who sought fulfillment in the admiration of his people. The disciples leaned in closer, eager to hear the tale and uncover the lesson hidden within the Buddha's words. In the prosperous kingdom of Magadha, the Buddha began, there ruled a wise yet discontent king named Virata. King Virata was loved by his people, praised for his fairness, wisdom, and the wealth he brought to his land. A butterfly flitted past, its wings a blur of color. The disciples watched, their hearts swelling with a quiet reverence. Notice the butterfly, the Buddha said. Its flight is like your thoughts, sometimes erratic, sometimes graceful, but the king's hollowness remained, his heart untouched by the countless words and images dedicated to his greatness. The Buddha paused, his gaze sweeping across the disciples, ensuring their attention was anchored in the unfolding narrative. The Buddha knelt by the stream, cupping the cool water in his hands. Walking, he said, is like this water. Instead, the hermit handed the king a simple clay cup, unadorned and weathered by time, its emptiness strikingly profound. What is this? The king asked, bewildered by the hermit's peculiar offering in place of the anticipated reverence. The disciples took turns drinking from the stream, their thirst quenched, their spirits lifted. The Buddha rose, his movements as fluid as the water itself. Let us continue, he said, for the journey is not yet complete. They walked along the stream, the sound of the water mingling with the rhythm of their steps. One day, while traveling through the villages, I met a farmer named Danu, whose crops had withered under relentless drought. He approached me, his despair etched deeply into his face, pleading, Master, why does life punish the honest laborer? I asked him to accompany me to the edge of the field, where we gazed at the parched soil. A disciple spoke, asking, Master, how can we fill our cups if not with the approval and words of those around us? The Buddha gestured toward a stream nearby, its waters flowing gently, reflecting the sunlight as it danced upon its surface. Observe the stream, the Buddha said. The disciples navigated the trail with care, their senses attuned to their surroundings. Each step, the Buddha said, is an opportunity to let go of attachment and aversion. Exactly, Sujata. Let your love be like the lotus, free from attachment yet full of compassion. In seeking validation from others, the Buddha continued, we lose sight of our inner nature. Where true peace resides, he gestured toward the stream again and said, let your actions flow like this stream, arising from truth and intention. Do not let your worth depend on the reflections cast by others. For those reflections are transient and unreliable. The grove grew quieter as the disciples reflected on the story of King Virata and the hermit's simple yet profound lesson. The Buddha looked upon them, his presence a beacon of compassion and unwavering clarity that guided their meditative thoughts. Each of you carries an empty cup, the Buddha said, not to be filled with praise but with the rain of wisdom. By seeking truth within yourselves, you will find the source that nourishes your being and satisfies your deepest longing. The disciples began to meditate, their minds turning inward to still the ripples and uncover the essence of their being. The Buddha observed them with a serene smile, his wisdom cascading like the stream, flowing to those who were ready. Under the banyan trees, the sunlight dappled the earth, mirroring the enlightenment that began to dawn in the disciples' hearts. Malini nodded, her hands folding as though in prayer, seeking to internalize the wisdom entrusted to her. The Buddha continued with another tale to illuminate his teaching further. Another day, as the sun rose over the lotus pond, the Buddha gathered his disciples under the shade of a grove. He gazed at the pond, its surface alive with blossoms swaying gently, reflecting the light of the morning sun. Today, the Buddha began, his voice calm and resonant. I shall share a story about the lotus of the heart. The disciples drew closer, eager to listen, their attention fixed on the serene figure of their teacher before them. The morning carried a refreshing chill, as dew clung to the leaves and grass. The sun had just begun to rise, painting the sky with hues of gold and crimson. These lotus flowers, the Buddha said, bloom not for admiration but for the joy of being in harmony with their nature. Turning toward his disciples, the Buddha asked, Ananda, what do you think drives people to seek external approval from the world? Ananda bowed slightly, his expression thoughtful, and replied, Master, perhaps it is a desire to feel seen and valued by others. The Buddha nodded. Indeed, Ananda, but this desire often blinds us to the beauty and truth within ourselves. I shall tell you the story of Maya, the Buddha said, a weaver who discovered the secret of her own heart. The disciples grew silent, their breaths steady, listening with focused minds to the words flowing from their teacher's lips. In a small village near Rajagaya, the Buddha began. There lived a humble weaver named Maya. Skilled in her craft, Maya spent her days weaving intricate tapestries, pouring her time and effort into creating patterns of exceptional beauty. Yet, despite her talent, the villagers showed little interest in her work. Leaving her heart heavy with disappointment, Maya longed for validation, believing that the recognition of others would make her effort worthwhile and bring her fulfillment. The disciples followed his instructions, their breaths deep and deliberate, merging seamlessly with their movement. A sense of quiet tranquility enveloped the group. Walking is not merely moving from one place to another, the Buddha said, his tone firm but kind. It is a dance with the present moment, a communion with life. He pointed to the soil beneath them. Mix these shards with soil, and they will strengthen it for future growth. Listen, he said, his eyes closing briefly as if savoring the symphony of nature. Even the birds sing in rhythm, their songs harmonizing with the heartbeat of existence. The disciples stood still, their senses heightened, absorbing the wisdom in the world around them. The Buddha resumed walking, his pace deliberate and unchanging. When you walk with awareness, you begin to hear the rhythm of life clearly. It teaches you to move in harmony, The Buddha paused, letting his story settle within the minds of his disciples, each considering the profound lesson it carried. This lotus pond, the Buddha said, gesturing again, reminds us that the flower blooms for the sun and the water's embrace. The lotus of the heart blooms when it is nourished by truth, not by the fleeting approval of those around us. He looked upon his disciples, their expressions a mix of contemplation and awakening to the deeper truths being revealed. Do not seek validation from others, the Buddha continued, for their praise is like shadows, present one moment, gone the next. To know peace, the Buddha said, find your sunlight, your water, and bloom for the joy of harmony with yourself. Ananda, he said, when the rhythm falters, return to your breath. The breath is the drumbeat of life, ever constant, live as the lotus is, the Buddha continued, blooming naturally, without concern for the eyes or words of the world. He gestured toward the grove, where the sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating patterns of light and shadow on the ground. Nature teaches us, the Buddha said, that true beauty and peace arise when we align ourselves with the essence of life. The disciples began to meditate, their breaths steady, their minds turning inward, seeking to nourish the lotus of their hearts. The grove grew silent, the air alive with the fragrance of blossoms, a gentle reminder of the teachings shared by the Buddha. The Buddha observed them, his serene gaze reflecting compassion and wisdom that carried the potential to transform their lives. Under the endless sky and amidst the blooming lotus flowers, the disciples embarked on their journey towards self-discovery and peace. The Buddha's words lingered, resonating in the hearts of his disciples, guiding them to the truth of their being within. Fear arises when you resist the shadows, he said. Walk through them with awareness, and they lose their power over you. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.